Hi, I'm Michael, and today we have Eric Pastorek from Reformed Media, and he's been a very active member of the WaaS Pro group. And I just wanted to bring him on today to learn a little bit more about him and his experiences building out his WaaS, and also just web development in general and marketing. So, Eric, please, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, Michael. It's good to be in this interview. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you start, and how did you get to where you are?
Well, I've been doing design for about going on 20 years. So I started in 1999. I went to a technical college in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And at that point, I wasn't doing web development. It was mainly graphic design, but I learned on a Mac, and that's when the Macs were, you remember the blue bubble Macs?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, the IMAX.
Yeah,
IMAX.
yeah,
Yeah.
the old ones. That's when those were around, and so you don't get cool looking computers like that anymore. But
No, you don't. And they don't take up as much room on your desk, that's for sure.
yeah, well, that's a good thing for sure.
Yeah.
But so I got into design basically, and the school was great because although it was a technical college, the teachers at the time were more like from kind of a fine arts background, and so we really got into a lot of color theory and just overall design, typography, and it wasn't. It seemed to be really well balanced. Maybe because I don't know if it was the age of the college or whatever it was, but it didn't seem like they wanted me to just learn computers and get out and go do graphic design and really emphasize study. And so I learned a lot about photography and just learning how to do layouts on paper and sketching things out, ideas and all. And I kind of see that as a really strong foundation for, as I've developed throughout the years, I always go back to those foundational principles and try to think through things. But even Photoshop, like just thinking through Photoshop, just all the basic elements that go into, from the dark room that have come into Photoshop, and just understanding those things. And so it's been, that was sort of the foundation, and worked in advertising for a number of years. Worked in newspaper for a number of years. And the advertising agency was kind of where I have sort of the drive to start a digital agency, because working in that environment, back then, digital agencies weren't even a thing. I mean, you couldn't, you had to have like 10 people working at an agency, or at least 5, to do the accounting and all the design work and the sales and all that. And now it's just, you can have your own office in your house pretty much, and
Yeah.
doing your own thing, working with clients and building up rapport and a reputation for your business. And but that was really a critical point for me to be in that environment. And a lot of those things I really look back to right now as I'm working with clients. And just, got into, in 2007, got into coding websites, and, from scratch, HTML and CSS.
Okay.
And so that was like kind of mind blowing, sort of a point in my career where I just realized that, I want to do web. I don't want to do print anymore. And so I very rarely do print, but all of, I still do it some, because it's sort of, it's sort of a byproduct right now of web. And, as that advanced, like I discovered WordPress, discovered all the other ones that were out at the time, was it Typeface or some other one? I can't remember. Joomla, Drupal.
Drupal, yeah.
Those ones were so painful. I became sort of like masters of those ones, but I hated every minute of Drupal and Joomla. No offense, anybody that likes Joomla. At least Joomla. Joomla's not.
I think you're safe in this group. I think you're pretty safe.
Yeah, it was kind of painful. I kept wanting to switch back to WordPress, but you know, I really tried to break ground early on. There was an early page builder. I can't think of the name of it offhand, but
not Visual Composer, something different than that even.
Way before that. I can't recall offhand, but it was back in like 2009, 2010. This company from India had come out with some kind of WordPress page builder that essentially was built on sort of like early shortcode type design.
Was it Page Leads by chance? There was one called Page Leads, I think.
I still kept a copy of it. I can actually.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. I kept it's let me just pull it up. Oh, okay. It was called WP Remix.
I haven't heard of that one. Okay.
No, it was like early page builder stuff. So I've been there for a number of moments in WordPress history, I guess you could say, where things have sort of changed. And on the advent of Beaver Builder, I think I didn't jump in right at the beginning. I didn't really know about it until about maybe 4 years ago. And 4 or 5 years ago, I think, is when I discovered it, and it was just revolutionary. It just blew my mind. I was like, this is what I got to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me a little bit about Reformed Media. How long have you had that company, and
so Reformed Media was kind of born about going on maybe 5 years ago when I was interning at a church. I was a pastoral intern up in New York, Buffalo, New York, and I was kind of evaluating where things were with working in ministry, and I came to think, well, this isn't really where I need to be. There's others that are called to that, and I just thought it wasn't my calling to be in full-time Christian ministry. And so, but with my experience and my background, in that it was like it was a perfect move, an easy move to go into essentially servicing ministries that need help. They oftentimes churches and organizations, they don't have large budgets, and they need some they're they need some quality work, which opens up a lot of great opportunities, because there are so many organizations like that just have terrible websites, that it gives me a really strong market to tap into, and that's definitely for my company, it definitely is something that is I can relate to the types of clients that I'm working with. I have rapport. I've been where they've been to some degree, and I know how they operate. I know what types of things they need, and so I try to think through that in my websites for churches, and I'm always kind of considering, well, what would they need, and how would I be able to address that?
Well, tell me a little bit about your WaaS.
Well, I have 3 that I'm developing right now. The one is for, it's called Reformation Sites, and that one is the one that essentially services churches and ministries. And the other one is called Authors. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
No worries.
Called Author Space, and Author Space is a service that I have. It sort of was born out of doing church sites. just sort of was meeting a lot of people that were authors, and they needed, they needed a place to go on the web. And I started to kind of integrate it into the Reformed Media as under like one big WaaS, but it started to just get way too complicated. Plugins were conflicting, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to focus on the different niches and really, focus strongly on each one, and that way, if one breaks, they all don't break as well. So there's Reformation sites, author space, and the other one is called Christian school sites, and essentially it's just working with Christian schools that I have a couple that I'm working with right now, and the author space and the school site, Christian school sites, those ones are sort of just kind of being developed right now. I'm not even marketing them very much, but I know what's really neat about working with them though is that having like one product for each niche is that you get the word of mouth advertising going on at that point, and I know one author I worked with, he got set up and actually let him do the whole thing because I was just too busy. So I'm like, here's the platform, you can go off and do whatever you like, and so he's all geared up, ready to tell his other. They do science fiction, military sci-fi is what it is, and he's like all geared up as soon as it's ready. He's like, I'm gonna tell all my friends, all the other writers about you. So that's been great, and so that's kind of the three that I'm working with, and there's just enough of a market there that I think I'll be good. I'm slammed right now, thankfully, with client work. So.
And that's a good problem to have. To some extent, I know I'm challenged with that too, because the money's good. You want to work, you want to keep busy, but at the same time, the goal is, at least for me, and I would assume probably for you as well, since you're building a WaaS, is to ultimately get to a point where you don't have to do client one-off work. You can put everyone into your system and just manage it all from one location.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a conflict for me. I'm still sort of unsure what I'm going to do with that. One of the big reasons I went into working with I use WP Ultimo, and one of the reasons I went into working for that or with that was I was worried about I think it was in June last year, I went to a conference where I had my exhibit, and I'm just talking to a lot of potential clients, and I thought, and there was another company there that was a lot like mine, and they'd been around a little bit longer. They were about twice the size client-wise, and they were just struggling because they were doing single WordPress installations for all their clients. And the owner and I were talking, and he's just like, he's trying to find people that he can hire part-time just to do all the updates. And here I'm like, I felt that pain, because the pain was every week I'm going through like 20 sites, updating, 8 to 10 plugins and a theme, and it just took forever, So that was a huge benefit to go on a network. And I had explored it about 2 years ago, using the WP, was it MU Dev or WPMU Dev?
Yeah, that's it. WPMU Dev. Pro sites.
Yeah. I explored it through that, and it just didn't. I don't know. Something was a little strange with it. It wasn't quite. I don't know if it was my level of technical abilities that just kind of limited me to it. But WP Ultimo is like plug and play.
Yeah, it really is.
So that was huge.
I think I had a similar experience with pro sites as well. Like I got all the way to the very end and it just didn't look right at the checkout process. But you know, after I've said that a few times inside the group, I've had a couple people get back to me and show me what they've done with it. And I'm like, how the heck do you do that? That didn't happen for me. That was, if I had looked like this, I probably would have still been into that. So I'm actually thankful I couldn't figure it out because WP Ultimo is awesome. And I wouldn't want to use anything else, but yeah.
Well, I've seen people on the Facebook group, you know, in that predicament where they're trying to switch over and then, you know, they're sort of struggling with that. And so definitely it's WP Ultimo. I think, you know, quality wise and setup wise, it's definitely a better choice. You know, I don't have any like, you know, affiliate or anything with WP Ultimo, but it's definitely a better choice. It's not perfect, you know. There's some things I'm still struggling with, and I'm on the email with Arindo, you know, every other week, like sending him something saying, "Hey, help me, this thing's broken." But out of what I've seen, it's definitely it's gonna take off. Definitely, I think when 2.0 comes out, you know, I'm really excited about that. That's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I am too. I'm pretty excited to see what that really entails and how it's going to change what we've got going on. Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about some of the other tools you're using. So you got Beaver Builder, you got WP Ultimo. Those are the two foundational pieces. Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I did switch to Astra's theme, and that's been a bit of a, you know, I like it. It's got a lot going for it. I've been kind of experiencing some issues with latency that I don't think it quite. I think their tagline, being the fastest one, isn't exactly correct. But with the you know, it's got a lot going for designers. I think, you know, to really have a site that's going to look really unique. It definitely has a lot going for it. You know,
So you're saying you just switched over. What did you switch from? And then also, like, did you switch after you've already started your WaaS building and then had to like convert everything? How did that go?
Yeah. I think we talked about this at some point, redoing things. So I was using Page Builder Framework, and I think I was, you know, even with that, I was experiencing some latency issues with certain things, and probably some bad choices of plugins that I was putting onto the site. And, you know, I just kind of gave up on it. I didn't even go back and pick it apart. But so I did use that, and I'm not totally against that one. It's pretty good. It's got a lot going for it. Especially, I think it's got a lot more in terms of like the menu structures that Astra doesn't have. But one of the things I was really kind of struggling with is having too many plugins, and I wanted to really narrow it down to one set of plugins that I'm using for everything, so that I could troubleshoot things easier. And so using Astra and the Ultimate plugin for, it's by the same company, Brainstorm Force.
Oh yeah, for Beaver Builder. Ultimate.
Yeah, the Beaver Builder plugin. And so, you know, I was using the other one as well, the WP Beaver Pro, or what is it? Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, but it's the other Power Pack, I think it was.
Oh yeah, Power Pack, and it's Ultimate add-ons for Beaver Builder. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Ultimate add-ons, right? So I was using Power Pack and Ultimate add-ons. You know, I was when they first came out, they were like, they had a lot of different plugins, modules that each of them didn't have, and so I was like, I bought them both because I like things from both of them. But as they developed, they started getting like all the same ones, except, you know, I think Power Pack has some social media stuff that I wish that Ultimate add-ons would put in. That's been kind of I still haven't completely gone away from it, but Power Pack definitely has some good stuff in it. And I really needed to stick with one, because I was doing some testing, and it seemed like having both of them like maxed out with all the modules in there was really slowing things down. So I still use it, but I use just like one or two from PowerPack, just so I can get some extra little features in there.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. In fact, I need to do an audit and see what features are being used from each and what I can live with or without, so I can remove one or the other. I'm pretty sure I would keep ultimate add-ons, but I'm guilty of like adding every single one that I could have find, that I was able to find, and now kind of regretting that. But I built my templates out with whatever worked at the time. So yeah, I could definitely see.
Yeah, I'm using. I don't know. I mean, offhand, I've experimented with a number of them. Thankfully, there's a 30-day grace period. So I'm like notorious for like buying something and just like returning it because like, I tried it, my business credit card, it's like up and down, like returns and purchases. So there's a couple of plugins that I'm sort of keeping an eye on that I hope could become something greater, but I sort of have stayed off. I've been sort of leery of really jumping into them. The one is, I think it's a live editor, or what is it? It's the WaaS inline.
Oh, inline. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I purchased that one just in case, and he gave me a pretty good deal on it. So I purchased that one just to kind of keep an eye on it. And then the other one is the one that was the what is it? It's that Themer one, not Beaver Themer, but there's another company.
I think the one you're talking about from Tom Carr is the.
Yeah, I think it's Beaver Press or something like that, or Beaver Team. It's one of those, either Beaver Press or Beaver Team. And the point behind that is like they allow you to create different themes that you can assign a page to, which I thought would be kind of interesting to use, especially if you don't want your clients you want to give them some variety, but you don't want them building pages out. It's been a little tough, and I think you know how it is working with clients that you don't want them to really touch the design.
Yeah.
Like working with the page builder and the modules and the data and everything, and giving them enough flexibility, but not too much. That's one side of the spectrum, that giving them total flexibility to do whatever, that's kind of dangerous too to some degree, because the site that you build for them at a couple months down the road doesn't look like the beautiful sites that you as long as they paid you though, that's all that matters, right? But I don't know, I feel like my reputation's a little hurt somewhat as a company if my site starts looking all messy because the client really didn't know what to do with the page builder.
Yeah. Do you have a setup process as a part of your sign up?
That's something that I'm trying to get to. It's on the back burner, but it always is kind of nagging at me. I really want to do videos, set up videos to really train people. I did have something that I bought from long time ago from WP Elevation.
Yeah, video user manuals.
Yeah, but it doesn't work with the multi-site too well. So I just kind of ditched it, and a lot of the instruction that I was going to do is really kind of custom anyway. So
yeah,
I think probably sometime this year I'm gonna start working on that, and I think for all three sites I'll probably be able to do like one batch for all of them, and then just do some custom videos for each different site, just to kind of highlight the special features for that one site. So that's in the works. Not so much now. It's been more like kind of painful. I'll jump on a video conference with a client and kind of show them how to use it, and I'm like, I wish I could just give them a video.
I know. I wish I recorded this so then I don't have to do it again, for sure. I'm in the same boat too.
Yeah, they can just go and watch it 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
but
Totally.
but it's good. I wanted to mention one thing too. Like one thing I've really been not too concerned with. I think probably my strategy is to do like one site that's probably going to be like fully turnkey. The others, I don't know if there's really much of a need to. I mean, with the authors one, I'm not sure. I'm still on the border of whether I'm going to make them like fully automated or not. I mean, the way it's set up now, it's not 100% automated anyway. I gotta, with the domain mapping and everything, I gotta jump in and do some,
Yeah.
extra.
Who's your host? Are you with WP Engine?
No, I'm using Liquid Web, and
Okay.
I don't recommend them. Um, it's the main reason I'm using them, I think, was because I had kind of put all my eggs in that basket prior to knowing about WP Ultimo, and I have some clients that have some larger sites that they just really wouldn't work on a multi-site platform, and um, they get a lot of traffic, and they need some extra RAM, and so it's hard for me to kind of switch, because Liquid Web for doing like single installations is like really good. I've got a dedicated server and everything, and it's it is a good host, but they just don't support multi-site, which has been sort of a pain for me. But I'm actually not even doing the what's it called, the subdomains.
Okay.
I tried that, and they don't support wildcard SSL, and so I'm just like, I think I wasted like so many hours and days trying to
Liquid
figure
Web
out.
doesn't support that, or you're saying that?
Yeah,
Uh,
they don't support. Well, they don't support multi-site at all. That's been like
mm,
every time I go on for support, I just want to like reach through and like kick them when they say we don't support multi-site. It's like their way of saying like, sorry, we're not going to help you.
yeah.
Just go figure it out yourself. I'm just like, ah. But the
What's holding you back from moving on to something else?
mainly it's probably a lack of knowledge of how things work. I guess with Liquid Web, they gave me like a terabyte of hard drive space for my sites, and so like for me, like a church, they want to host media files, and so my competition, um, they're offering like 100 gigabytes of space for churches to host all their media files. And I can offer maybe like 10 gig, and my platform's better though. Like most of these other companies, they don't give you like a page builder. It's sort of just like a canned kind of site that looks fairly decent, but they have a fairly strong media player, and they give you lots of space and everything. So I needed the ability to have some space, and this is kind of going back to before I knew about the ability to do like multi-site stuff with WP Ultimo. I might have done a little bit more research if I hadn't jumped into that, and I'm still actually finding an excuse to get out of it. If I can, I don't know. I've been tempted, and maybe this is my if somebody hears this, I'm tempted to even say, hey, I'll pay somebody if they just teach me how to hook things up and figure out the payment scale for like Amazon, AWS, or something like that, or DigitalOcean or something. I've been on the phone with those guys, and I can't figure it out. I sort of hit like a technical barrier in my mind where I'm just like, I still like the traditional, like, this is how much space you have, and these are all your sites, and you can divvy it up and, give them how much. That's sort of where I'm at. And so that's a weakness, I know. And it's part of, being just myself doing everything. I'm looking to at some point, branch out, but it's hard finding somebody that wants to well, I don't know. I gotta contract somebody basically. Like that's sort of where I'm at. I don't have enough really earnings to
Contract
hire
it out.
somebody. You
Yeah.
know.
And that's the
Um,
challenge too, because you're probably limited on time working on client work on top of everything else. And you have all
yeah,
those videos you just talked about you want to create. And there's just so much that's just the list is long. I'm sure.
it is. It is. So that's sort of, and I wanted to tell everybody if, I know I read through the Facebook group a lot. Almost every day, I go on and read through and see what people are doing. And, there's a lot of new guys, new girls doing it. Um, and I'll tell you, it's not easy. I just laugh sometimes when somebody posts and they say, so how long can you just estimate about how many hours it's going to take to set up a WaaS site?
Yeah, totally. There's so many variables. Are you just talking about installing the plugins? Or are you talking about creating?
Yeah. Somebody said, oh, 1 to 2 hours if you're just hooking up WP Ultimo. And
Yeah.
I just think back at what I've been through, and I didn't do any like training or anything, which the Matthew's training, I'm sure that's like huge. I know you've been through that, and I would definitely recommend it. I mean, I haven't been through it, but what I've seen of it, it has a lot of value for.
Yeah, I actually haven't been through it, but from what I could tell, it makes you think through some of the things that you may not think through. From what I could tell, yes, he shared some things with us, and
yeah, I can see that being a good jump start for people, and I just felt that where I was at design wise and tech, marketing wise, and somewhat technically as well, I can get things set up and going and whatnot. It was sort of, I was already kind of past some of the things. So,
what about strategy? What do you have in store for once you start launching the other two and the one that you have going? Do you have a marketing strategy on how you're going to acquire clients?
Yeah. So for churches, essentially the strategy I have been going with at this point is mainly I do a lot of there's like 3 or 4 large conferences that I go to every year, and I'm actually not going this year to any of them, just to really focus on my product and get it really down pat and for next year. But there's a lot of leaders that are there for churches, and they're decision makers, and I know it's kind of old-fashioned traditional way of doing it, but that's where I meet them. That's where I can like sit down and talk with them, and I'll do like a giveaway or something. And
So do you set up a booth yourself, or do you just walk it and then like introduce yourself? How do you do that?
Yeah, normally I pay for a booth, and some of the events I go to, there's between I'd say like the smallest one, there's probably maybe like 400, and then the largest one has been about 4,000. So but these are decision makers, so they're going to take stuff with them and get back to me, or I can follow up with them. Especially if I do like a giveaway, I've got like a huge envelope of leads that I still need to go through from the last year, and just follow up with some of these guys, and that's been sort of my primary strategy. And
do you feel like you got a good ROI from those? Because you spent 4,000 on one show, and do you think you were able to? Well, you also are not just doing WaaS with that, though, right? You're actually taking some on as clients as well.
Yeah. So that's I was going to mention that too. Part of the struggle that I've been having is whether I want to do like a 100% turnkey site, because I've actually found that I just using the platform as a development site to really speed up my development of these sites has been huge, because I can, like for one organization, I could charge like $5,000-$6,000 to do a setup, a professional site where I'm really, working with them and giving them something that's quality. And perhaps I do like a template, like a starter template, and I sort of get my investment back into getting those templates set up, and I can use that as a springboard to really get into the site and start developing quickly. So that was actually one of the huge selling points for me to get into doing a network type site, a WaaS site, was just the setup. Was it was going to push me forward exponentially. A site that would take me, like a week to set up. I could really set it up in a day. If I wanted to, if they gave me all the information, which is part of the issue. But that, like last year, I mean, I've got a monthly income through the like a
multi-site, the WaaS.
Well, not the WaaS so much. Like even before the WaaS, I was setting up. I had like a payment gateway, and I was charging clients a monthly maintenance fee and stuff like that. And so I've got income coming through that, as well as the newer clients that through my WaaS. And but so that that pays the bills, and it gives me a good like income for keeping steady throughout the year. But that wouldn't pay the bills ultimately. My bills are essentially being paid through the setup work. And I got to thinking, well, the question was, well, that I've seen on Facebook is, can a person have their job set doing a WaaS, making like X amount every month on recurred income? And kind of the answer is no, and to some degree. It depends on like how many clients you have and how much you charge, of course. But you can. I figure it this way: like I can make a living doing the setup work, which is what I have been doing, and people expect that, to some degree, and to be able to have both, that's even greater. To have the, once I get it all set up and going, and I can, just every now and then come back and help them out, or even set up some kind of other. It's really a launch pad for setting up, and you've talked about this before, setting up other services too, to be able to charge like creative services, or like logo design, or even print design, or whatever it may be, SEO.
Yeah, they say a lot of the money is made on the back end, or the majority of your money should be made on the back end. The front end is like the freebie giveaway in a sense.
Yeah. Even that kind of gets me thinking too, how I even charge sites. But I mean, up to this point, I have a goal. I'd like to. I have about 40 clients right now, and I'd like to be at 100 by the end of the year. That's my goal.
Are we talking WaaS, or are you talking like a complete, like with your agency?
Yeah, well, it's one and the same.
Okay.
Yeah, so like right now, the majority of them would be WaaS, sites on my network. Well, spread among the 3 networks, and the others would be like larger sites that need a little more care, just individual sites. But one thing I recently came into was a client who wanted me to essentially, they didn't want me to do this. I suggested it to them that they set up their own multi-site for a project that they were doing, because it had different translations. And essentially when they wanted to add a translation, they could just, I could set up like a WP Ultimo site for them, and they could, select the template and just change the translation to expand it. And so that, and they love the idea. So using WP Ultimo as a strategy for my clients is even kind of an area that I'm going into. So, if it was well worth well worth the investment to get the WP Ultimo.
Yeah, not just financially, but just time and learning it all too, right? It's a pretty big investment.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you know, it's funny because I'm still learning.
So you're if I understand you correctly, you're using your WaaS as more of a development platform as opposed to like a turnkey system that you're going to try to market and sell as a product. You're just kind of more using it as kind of that platform to get the more efficient, your efficiency levels higher.
Yeah, and part of it, going back to the story I was telling about the other company that had like, you know, double the clients that I did. I just didn't want to be in that situation. Yeah, you know, I didn't want to be stuck like, you know, with over my head because I got too many clients. And you know, these days with automation, you know, you could really be a smaller company and have like the software doing the, you know, the workload for you. So that's huge in my thinking. There's been times where I've been so frustrated with WaaS sites and multi-sites that I just wanted to like give it up, like, go back to single site installations. You know, just recently actually, but then I started thinking about just the time that I've saved and the ability to have like a workhorse for me through, you know, WP Ultimo and the other you know, other plugins and things, that it kind of outweighs that, you know, that struggle. And you know, so when I feel discouraged and want to like get out of it and go back to the old way, you know, I just remember the setup and all that other stuff that's going to like bog me down even worse.
Yeah. Do you have any specific goals that you'd like to hit in terms of when we talk about scaling? It sounds like you kind of want to keep it a lower key than.
Well, again, going back to you know, I really like the setup fees. It's been a struggle getting away from that because, you know, I feel like I'm putting more into the quality of the site when I can actually charge what it's worth. And you know, I went through WP Elevation's course, you know, a year or so ago, and you know, just the potential that's in, you know, setting up sites for people and being able to show them the value of having a quality site, and you know, charging them what it's worth rather than just, you know, having something that is a, you know, a template and you sign up. And you know, that's been a bit of a struggle because I can see the value of getting as many as you can, and where the golden egg is the monthly fee, and you know, where you can get like a, you know, X amount of money every month, and you're just essentially maintaining the site. But I'm kind of maybe trying to go like in the middle, you know, do the development fees. Maybe if I could get it to where I can charge a little bit less for, you know, creating like a template and customizing the templates, then you know, I'd like to do that probably. And that's sort of been where I wanted to go, but yeah, it seems that's where I would like to be. Not necessarily focusing on one or the other. And
you have pricing on your website now, like.
I do. It's it's sort of accurate. I'm just kind of like, I keep it kind of low key. You know, I don't advertise it too much, and I'm not big into Google ads or Facebook ads. I'll probably get to that once I get the product developed a little bit more. But, you know, I'm not like development wise, I'm not quite there to really advertise that. I feel I've had people sign up and I follow up with them, but they don't really get back to me. They don't really develop the site. You know, they just kind of go, and part of it is the development too. I got to get I have to get the
sign up process a little more down.
Yeah, the onboarding process more in place.
Mm-hmm. I know that feeling. Actually, when I had people signing up, I'm like, oh no, what are they going? I don't even know what they're going to see when they sign up now. You know, because I don't know about. Actually, I do know about you. We both are kind of in the same boat. We're changing things constantly, making it different.
Yeah.
So you forget where you left off. And when they signed up, like I was like, what the heck? I just get so frustrated because now I'm like running around like I need to contact them. I need to make sure that they're getting, the kind of results that they're looking for. And so I've actually, and you may have heard this through the group, but for my posts, but I've recently made it a mandatory thing for us to do the setup. Where before it was a DIY and I'll let you figure it out. But I found that most people, at least in my experience, didn't stay around, and my churn was pretty high because they would get started. They have all of the best intentions when they signed up, but they really don't either want to spend the time to figure it out, because there is a learning curve. No matter how easy the page builder is, you still got to learn it. And so it's either that they didn't want the learning curve, or they just didn't have the time to do it, or whatever the situation was, or they got in there and just got frustrated. But at the end of the day, come 2-3 months down the road and they're getting this bill from me, they just cancel. I'm at the higher end of, not higher, I take that back. There's people charging a lot more than me. But I'm not at the $10, $19 range. I'm more at 60s, 50s and 60s at that time. So
I'm actually probably going to do a demo site. I think that's the strategy I'm going to take, because I'm sort of where you are too. I don't really, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable. I know this kind of sounds a little weird, but I just know my client base, and none of them are designers. Maybe if I had a better onboarding process, which I plan to do still, even with doing a demo. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm looking into doing like a demo site. So essentially, I would like my strategy to be like, people come to the site, they feel comfortable with with who I am as a company, because it it speaks to that market, and then they can try it out without having put all their information in, and they could see, they could break it, it's going to like reset, so if they break it, it's not going to make a big deal, and or they can mess around with it. And when I've done that, like I've messed around with, I remember messing around with Beaver Builder way back when, and I was just like totally sold. I'm like, this is awesome, and so just to get the interest going, I kind of like the idea of doing like a demo, and then if they want to sign up, I was thinking to maybe even do something on the lines of like, I really would like, kind of it's kind of getting close to, we got to jump off, but I would kind of, I'm really excited to see if WP Forms, not WP Forms, the other form one,
not Gravity Forms you're talking about.
Gravity Forms, yeah. I've seen talk about maybe integrating that into WP Ultimo, and that would just be super awesome. That you could walk people through like a sign-up process where you can get all their information, and then that would be like.
That's funny you say that, because we're actually working on something called Wizard Pro or something. I forget what we named it, but it's the same concept. It's kind of like what WordPress.com does, where you go through that whole sign-up process beyond what WP Ultimo presents now. But like after the checkout, you start asking the questions of what's your business name, the address, all that stuff. And then we would have it, and I believe you have site settings, right? You have Site Settings Pro? Mm-hmm. Okay, so all of that information will be collected and automatically populated into Site Settings Pro, so they don't have to double enter all through the setup process. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then we'll have a checklist in the dashboard to show like, okay, you've done this, but you still need to do this, this, and this kind of thing.
Right. Oh man, that would be awesome. Let me know.
For sure.
I forgot to mention that I have some of your plugins too.
Oh, no worries. That's not what this is about. Honestly, it really isn't.
No, it's a shout out, because those have been really interesting to plug into the site and really have some more control over how the client can add in their info, and definitely it's a good thing.
The sign-up process is like one of the most important parts, because if you don't get that right, then they're just going to get frustrated and just quit, cancel. And so that's definitely, it's been our focus. We created that tour with, actually it was called Tour Pro, but we broke it up into two now because it made more sense. So we had the Tour Pro, and Tour Guide Pro, which is
Oh, okay.
like the videos kind of thing concept that you had, but instead you're just taking them through like, okay, click here, click there, do this, do that.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be revolutionary, I think, for the site for sure.
Yeah.
People want that. They talk about the wow moment, and people want that wow moment if they're gonna stick with you. They have to go in and be like, hey, that was pretty easy, or that just to go in and have it set up, and then it's already ready. I could see that being like turnkey, like for sure.
Yeah.
Like if it was a process like that, I would totally be in on it. I don't think we're there yet technologically with the WaaS sites. It's getting there though. Mm-hmm. So that's encouraging to me as a developer to see where things are kind of going, and you just got to have a little bit of patience and because it's getting there, and I'm just so excited every week when if WP Ultimo comes out with a update. I just get like all giddy inside. or Beaver Builder comes out with like some kind of new module or something. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So definitely there's a lot of joy in it. It's both. You grow from the pain, mm-hmm. and you get the joy of when these companies are working for you, and it's just so awesome that these companies they have it figured out where they can make you look super awesome. So, yeah. And you just pay them, and it's not even that not even a huge investment, but I mean considering the return
Oh, for sure. And the fact that you can white label everything and just make it yours is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, great. I don't want to keep you for too long. We've actually been here for an hour. I was going to be a little windy. But it's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed learning more about you and your systems and where you came from, and excited to stay in touch with you inside the group. And thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there any last minute things you'd like to say before we go that we may not have covered?
Oh boy, no. Just keep at it, everybody. If you made it this long through the video, keep at it. It's definitely worth it, and you guys will. I think you can make a good living with it and do a lot of good for companies and individuals. So.
Awesome. Is there a website that they can learn more about you, or do you want to leave that kind of on the DL?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's not. Don't expect anything grand, but it's reformed.media. That's my main website, which will eventually turn into just my informational site. But reformed.media, and that's where I'll be essentially promoting all my WaaS sites once I get them to a certain level where I'll start promoting them.
Awesome. And one last thing I didn't even ask you is, what part of the country are you in?
Oh, I'm in the Sunshine State.
Okay.
So Florida.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's I'm not originally Floridian, but I didn't regret moving here. So.
Very cool. You mentioned you were in like Pittsburgh, and then you said like Washington or something like that, right?
Right. At one point. But yeah, we're down here in Fort Lauderdale area, so it's been an awesome winter. Sorry, everybody. I woke up every day like looking outside. It's like, wow, it's 75 degrees outside. For being up in Buffalo, I'm just like, I'm not going back there. I love that place, but I'm not going back.
Yeah, that cold. I couldn't do it. I'm in a jacket, and it's probably 70 degrees here as well. So
yeah. Oh, okay. Wow.
I'm in California, Southern California. So.
Yep. Yeah. Cool.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in the group, and again, just having other people know you better as well. So, thank you, and we'll be talking again soon, I hope.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Take care.